look, we got a big number coming, or we got an important number coming out on Wednesday. We've had a decent run to the upside. We're right on top of resistance for much of these things, you know. And in the Nasdaq's case, decent intermediate and minor resistance on the Nasdaq's case. That's daily and weekly resistance on the Nasdaq's case. Do we take some profit here? Well, that would be my choice. You know, I'd be like, yeah, definitely. I'd want to take some profit here. So we could see some easing back into that number, but it might just get trapped. And we've got a lower high on the Nasdaq, and actually not the worst trade in the world to go short here on the Nasdaq with a stop at these levels at the highs here. You know, you've got an area to kind of put a stop loss up there, and it's around about 100 pips difference for that. Now the weekly pivot is 150 pips down. So you're already looking at a 1.5 to 1 for that very, very shallow move. And there's a possibility that you know that there's a 500 pip bagger. So there's a possible 5 to 1 on the Nasdaq right now, which means that you don't have to go in heavy. You don't have to even go in at 1%. You could go in at 0.2%. 0.20% effectively, or a fifth of a percent. And still get you 1% move with possible add points. So there is, I suppose, a possible trade on the Nasdaq here. That's the only one I'd really sort of be promoting. But there's a possible trade on the Nasdaq if anybody was willing to take it on. But I would definitely manage the money sensibly and say, let's not think it's going down, but you know, put on a fifth of a percent just to kind of have some interest in this market.
I'm 100% with you, mate. I'm just waiting for a signal on that. As I say, I've got my eagle eyes on it. I'm either waiting for a false break of that trend line, or I'm waiting for a candle pattern that tells me we're ready to go. But at this point, simply not there. I agree with you. I think if you are a bear on the Nasdaq, as I am, there are worse trades to take than getting in at that trend line you've got with your stop loss above the highs. Makes sense.
Yeah.
As far as currencies are concerned, and I think we've come to pretty much a conclusion, haven't we? That we're in a holding pattern, and it's pretty hard to get a directional bias right now until we get that number out, or until we get a move prior to that number, maybe.
Yes.
So we're boring buggers, aren't we? I guess.
Well, we are, mate, but the market is. You know, it's not like we can't really kind of tell the market what to do, and the market is pretty quiet today. Yeah, you look at this on the 50.
Yeah, they're selling the dollar. That's pretty interesting.
Look at that. Even over the on a 15-minute time frame, this is on a level of resistance. So there's actually quite a lot to like about a Nasdaq short here. Not
Have you got a reason?
At all. Well, I mean, yeah, there would be.
I know you've got one. I need one.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'd need a reason. Yeah, you would need a reason. But you know, what you're going to get out of the Nasdaq right now is a little bit of a question. And I think if you were going to trade to the highs, the daily pivot isn't far away enough to make the trade worthwhile. So you definitely want to make sure that you're aiming for that weekly pivot just before you start to manage the trade. I would suggest, just to kind of make it better than a 1-to-1. But it looks okay. I mean, it's Wednesday's the only thing in the way. There's no other data that should move this. Obviously, a news event might change things, but we can't really control that.
Yep, I'm keen. Absolutely keen. What else you got, mate? Anything else? Or go through that
would be my counsel. That would be my counsel. That short on the Nasdaq is okay as long as your money is managed correctly. But be a little bit careful if you're looking at anything before Wednesday that is actually going to significantly move and stay in that direction.
Yeah, look, and I think we've pretty much come to that conclusion. That's what needs to be done at the moment. Just a little bit of patience. That said, Let me show you a couple of things that I am looking at. And like I said, I haven't really done a whole lot of analysis today or this week, but something's very clear to me, and that is this one. That's the dollar index. And again, we are stifled by pivots, and pivots are going to be an issue because I don't see the market doing anything but backing up until Wednesday. And if that's the case, we're going to continue to have these pivot problems. If you're prepared to trade through them and ignore them as support or resistance, then go for your life. But here's what I see clearly on the dollar index. To me, as I said earlier, it's very much a case of why didn't the dollar go through this resistance level and take on the highs? Because of that big number, or those good numbers, not just one number, on Friday. And the only answer that I can come up with is that it's A, not ready, or B, isn't going to. And the B part is the one I favour. And I favour that for a few reasons, and we've spoken about it. And we are at an inflection point, in my humble opinion. I think this trend line is probably the telling factor. And if this trend line goes, then the dollar may well be on its way to hell in a handbasket. Maybe a bit early for that, but one day that's going to happen, and I continue to hold that theme. So I don't ever want to miss that. So I'm always vigilant that if there's an opportunity to trade the dollar short, I shall. I got beaten on that last week when I tried to trade against the CAD. Primarily, I think, because the CAD got into trouble with oil. Of course, the CAD is influenced by what oil does, and oil is just going down, 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 or has been going down, down, down. So, and Ash spoke about dollar CAD, and I'll have a look at that in just a tick. But I can't see anything right now except a sell on the dollar, but you're stifled by these pivots. Because they're so close together, and because they're mixed, you've got the daily in between the weekly and monthly. And I think we said it before, it's telling you pretty much everything you need to know. We're in a hold, and it's really, really tough to call. If this candle here were to close on the daily pivot or the trade line, then that's a very, very clear false break for me. But you've got the weekly pivot untested, dead ahead. What do pivots do when they're untested? Well, they tend to be tested, number one, but they also tend to bounce price. And that's why this is an extremely dangerous trade if it were to set up. I think I'd prefer to go down to the smaller time frames, frankly, and look for maybe the same entries, but lower risk in terms of pips, so you could actually get some profit in the bank before the weekly pivot. Now, how that pans out, I've actually got no idea at the moment, but this candle going to here makes perfect sense to me. What makes better sense to me is if this candle breaks the weekly pivot and then we get a retest of the weekly pivot. Yes, please. That's exactly what I want. So that can happen on a 4-hour chart, no problem. This can break the weekly pivot, then the next candle comes back and retests that area. Then I've got a trade. Then I've got a TP1 down here somewhere, which is far, far better than trading into a strong support level. So that's where I'm at with the dollar index. And of course, the reason I'm talking about the dollar index is not so much to trade it, although you can, but it's to turn it into a trade on, let's say, euro dollar. So we'd be looking to trade euro dollar long, and I'm okay with that. I don't know why I think the euro would be strong. It's not a case of the euro being strong. It's a case of the dollar being weak. And the euro versus the dollar has been going down for such a long period of time, and it's moved such a long, long distance that one day, and Ash spoke about this earlier, one day this is going to rally. Now, if for no other reason.
Oh, we got no screen, mate, with you?
Oh my God, really? Host disabled participant screen. I thought I was the host.
Uh,
Oh, Marlon's in there. Hello, Marlon. Can you give me some power, please, mate? Was my screen showing it all? I selected it at some stage. There we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, this has been going down for such a long time that eventually it has to. There's no question that it has to, because there's no such thing as go down, 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 down forever. Doesn't happen. Even in the worst periods of time, it just doesn't happen. So you're going to get some buying coming in. Whether that's now, who knows? But like I said, the dollar index is going to be the indicator of this, because it's pretty much an upside down version of it. So pound is actually a better prospect in terms of the charts at the moment. Will I leave this open? Good question. I'll think about that while I'm talking. So if you have a look at the monthly chart on the pound, look at that level. Amazing. That's such a strong support level, the 120 handle, around about where we are. And price has already come off it. So why would I not be thinking that price is going to come back to a strong level, wherever that level is? Pick it yourself. You know, it could be that trend line through there, could be the horizontal level through here. But to my mind, this at some stage has to come back into this area. So I'll be looking at that very, very closely throughout the week. We've already had 2 weeks of rally, followed by last week of that pullback. Does that give us an opportunity? Maybe it does. Have a look at the daily. We've got potentially a higher low sitting here, but what's it coming off? Is it a right shoulder? Maybe it is. If that's the case, there's the neckline. Do we wait for the neckline to break, come back and retest? Maybe we do. Maybe that's a good play throughout the week if we do get that burst through here. Maybe that's where we need to look. Or if you can find another way on whichever system you trade, I think that's probably a good thesis for the week. But it does look like there's an inverted head and shoulder sitting there. So maybe pound dollar is the way to go this week. And I'm saying maybe because we just don't know yet, because we're at these inflection points. We've got pivots in the road everywhere. We've got resistance all over the place if we're trying to go long. We've got support all over the place if we're trying to go short. We've got how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 pairs on my game changer bars. That's not going to happen. 17 pairs are not going to reverse. There's no way that's going to happen. I can promise you. Don't know how many might, but I don't see anything that's 100% clear in the charts right now, except the promise, the potential for those pairs to take off against the dollar in particular. But as I said from the outset, a lot of these pairs that are on the reversal list, if you like, or game changer list, are against the yen and against the Swissy, risk-on currencies versus risk-off currencies. And that's likely to change and has been changing day in, day out. So that's why it's very, very difficult at the moment for me to say, here's what I think should happen in terms of Australia versus Australian dollar versus the yen, for instance, or even Swissy versus the yen, CAD versus the yen. You can see they're all lining up. The risk-on currencies versus the risk-off currencies. Swissy here versus the pound. Yen versus the pound. It's very, very much a common theme that we are changing day in, day out, because last week was exactly the same. One day it's Aussie yen short, next day it's Aussie yen long. And that's the challenge that we've got at the moment. Yeah, so just be patient. It will pan out and it will become crystal clear. And you know, that's the thing when you're trading. The market and the charts in particular don't whisper at you when they're ready to go. They actually shout at you when you're ready to go, if you're prepared to wait for that to happen. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm prepared to wait for that that little shout in my ear that says, okay, it's time to press the button. And right now, I don't see that.
Yeah. Well, so we're waiting, mate.
It's George. I didn't see George. Did you see George come in?
I didn't.
Well, I'm assuming he's not here. He would have piped up by now, surely.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's not in.
Okay, and Simon, of course, is in Canada, guys. I think he's back either next Monday. I think he's back next Monday. So we'll get an idea of what the crypto world is doing. Where's Bitcoin, mate? Is it still above 20K?
Just about, yeah. From what I last saw, it was floating around about the 22, 23 mark. Hasn't done a whole bunch, yeah, 23,800, so near 2,400 actually. Actually, the crypto market's had a decent bounce from the 20,000 mark, or just below the 20,000 mark. It's had a decent 20% move in some of them. It's had a 40% move on some of the big ones. So decent moves on the crypto space. And again, you know, the big question about whether this is a bit of a bear market rally on the crypto numbers as well, or have we hit the lows? I mean, you think not, but you just never know.
Well, yeah, absolutely no qualifications to talk about crypto. I just watch it happen, I suppose, and hope that those I've entrusted my funds with doing well at some stage. That's all.
Yeah,
do you know about that?
I think the correlation to the Nasdaq is the easiest thing to kind of watch, and
is it?
Yeah, I think so. You know, and because you've got this rally in the Nasdaq at a potential inflection point, then you'd say that the crypto market should take another dip. But if the Nasdaq gets through, bets are off, and crypto's back on again.
Yeah, well, again, you know, we're saying exactly the same thing. We're at that point where we need to wait and see if that does break through, or if it doesn't, which is my thesis, I suppose, and certainly my directional bias. If I get the signal to trade short on the Nasdaq, I will be doing exactly that, and I will be posting that in the Telegram group. My apologies to those of you in the Telegram group for not posting this morning. It's simply because I was completely tied up with my other business and couldn't get to the charts, and that's why I'm a little bit scant on information today. So I think we're done. We haven't. Yeah. Well, just very, very briefly. Euro today, and I always like to have a look at the euro for the day. Our edge is gone, guys, and our edge, for those of you who aren't aware, happens when the market is nowhere near the daily pivot, which is untested. That is not the case today. It has been tested. Will it be retested is the question. And this is a prime example of what I was talking about, where the pivots are in the way. You've really got a situation here. You're in the middle of support and resistance. You've got support and resistance all over you inside that support and resistance. So, you know, this is something to be left alone, frankly, unless you've got a crystal ball as to which way it's going to break. I certainly don't. And for that reason, I wouldn't be looking to trade this until it got to here or here, and then gave me some indication as to what was going to happen next. If I've got a gun to my head, here's what I'd do. I'd wait till price got to here, came back underneath the monthly pivot, retested that area, and I'd trade it short. But I'd be taking profit at pivots, and I'd be getting out here. That would be my trade if it's set up on the euro versus the dollar. But it ain't there right now. It's just guessing game for me on euro versus the dollar. So I'll leave it at that. Should we cancel the pound order? And the answer to that question that I've asked myself is, look, I don't think so, not yet, because this is a resistance level. This could very easily bounce and go back the other way. But again, you know, you've got this pivot thing going on, and that's a problem, because we could be just oscillating inside those pivots all day long. If I had serious money on this, I'd cancel it for sure. But I think because it is a breakout scenario, we'll leave it there and see what happens. All right, done. Like a dinner.
That's mate.
First show back. Great to see you, bud.
Yeah, you too, mate. You too. We should. I should be in slightly better shape on Thursday. And Marlon, don't worry, mate. We were okay. It's not a big deal, mate. We'll be back on Wednesday with a full quota. Thursday, sorry.
Straight. Go and have a sleep, mate.
Yeah, I think I need it. All right, guys, have a great week. And thank you, as always, for being our trading buddies. Thank you to you, mate. I will see you in a few days.
You bet. Happy days. Have a great week, guys. And maybe just be a little bit patient. See you later. Bye-bye. Oh, hang on. There's a chat. What does that say? Thanks and welcome back. Thanks, Paul T. Have a great week, mate. Bye for now. Bye-bye.